Hi, and welcome to this Dust 1947 Battle Report. Today, we will be playing the second scenario from the rulebook, called Reload. In that particular scenario, both forces are seeking to take control over a large ammo dump in the center of the table. Victory conditions are met if one side has any unit controlling the objective after turn 3, and there's no enemy units within 20 centimeters. Otherwise, victory points will determine the winner. This is quite a small game, so both Axis and Allies only have 40 army points to play with. In the middle of the table, there's a storage bunker with a set of crates on top of it. That is the objective. The Axis forces will enter from the north and the Allied forces will enter from the south. Now, let's take a look at the armies. The Axis force is made up of 4 units and comes to 39 army points. First, a unit of zombies. Even though they cannot capture objectives, they provide some excellent shock troop support. They also have a Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad, a rather versatile unit with some great anti-tank capabilities. The anti-infantry selection is a Heavy Grenadier Assault Squad with their deadly dual machine guns. Finally, a Ludwig mech rounds out the force. The Allied force is made up of 5 units and also comes to 39 army points. First, there's a Ranger Combat Squad with bazooka and underbarrel grenade launchers. Behind them is a Ranger Assault Squad with shotguns, a flamethrower and demo charges. The first hero is Johnny One-Eye, carrying a machine gun. He can also enhance a unit's shooting. The second hero is Rosie. It's a converted model to better suit the look of a Ranger force. Lastly, they have a Pounder for some much needed mech support. The roll-off for priority saw the Allied rolling no symbols and the Axis forces rolling 2 symbols, electing the Allies to go first. The Allies moved their Ranger Combat Squad up to take position in some trees, giving them a good overview of the objective. The Axis activated their slow but dangerous zombies and moved them up to take position into some cover. Johnny One-Eye then led the Ranger Assault Squad into the cover of the tank traps. The Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad moved up along the eastern flank, also taking position in some tank traps. The Pounder then moved up next to the Ranger Combat Squad and decided to try its luck against the Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad who had just entered the battlefield. They were well within the reach and so received a blast. The Allied player then rolled up, getting 2 hits, but the Axis saved them both. The Ludwig moved up to the west, shielding himself from the Pounder using some trees, and then blasted away at the Ranger Assault Squad, scoring 3 hits in total. A terrible roll for the Allies then saw 3 of the Assault Rangers being brought down by the heavy fire from the Ludwig. Lastly, for the Allies, Rosie moved up next to the Pounder, and for the Axis, the Heavy Assault Grenadiers. At the end of turn 1, the Axis have continued to move forward, only 1 unit being under fire, no casualties. The Allies, however, had already taken 3 casualties but are still moving on to the objective, unperturbed. Turn 2 saw the Axis taking the initiative and electing to go first. They immediately activated the Ludwig, moving forward and taking yet another shot at the already injured Ranger Assault Squad. This time, however, they only managed a single hit, which the Allies managed to save, but the unit was now suppressed. The Allies, now seeing an opportunity to put some hurt on the annoying Ludwig, changed positions of the Pounder and then took a shot. The Pounder managed a hit, and even though the Ludwig was behind some cover, it failed its roll and so was left with 4 damage, being almost destroyed. The Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad then successfully removed their under fire tokens and moved up to take position at the bunker. To counter the Axis Sturm Grenadier units push for the objective, the Ranger Combat Squad decided to move up towards the bunker as well. Both units were now pretty close to each other, but no one had a line of sight to the other units. Then the Heavy Assault Grenadiers continued their march along the eastern flank, taking a position in order to be an anti-infantry threat towards the objective in coming turns. Johnny One-Eye and his depleted squad of Assault Rangers then failed to remove these suppression tokens and so were forced to spend 1 action doing nothing and then a single move towards the objective. The zombie unit then decided to move forwards towards the objective as well, creating literally a swarm of Axis forces closing in on the ammo dump. The final unit of the turn to activate was Rosie, who moved up close to the combat rangers in order to give them some support. And so, at the end of turn 2, we have the Axis forces with the Ludwig staying back and the zombies and Sturm Grenadiers storming towards the objective, with the heavy assault grenadiers on the eastern flank ready to provide some support. For the Allies, the Pounder is being left back, and also the still suppressed squad of Johnny One-Eye and his assault rangers are taking up position behind some cover, and we have the combat squad and Rosie moving towards the objective. Priority for turn 3 was won by the Allies, and they decided to go first. The Ranger combat squad decided to get aggressive and so moved on top of the objective, ready to fire at the Ludwig or possibly the zombies as well. The already damaged Ludwig realized it could be in grave danger and so tried a reactive attack, getting one action. It therefore took a shot against the combat Rangers on top of the bunker, but sadly for the Axis players it didn't manage a single hit and so had activated for nothing this turn. The combat Rangers decided to use their automatic rifles against the Sturm Grenadiers, the bazooka against the zombies, and their grenade launchers against the Ludwig. 4 automatic rifles dish out 8 shots against Type 2 infantry. The Sturm Grenadier claimed some cover, but still, 2 of them were brought down from the barrage. Next up for the very busy Ranger combat squad was the bazooka going into the zombie squad. They managed to score a set of 3 hits in total, but the zombies, being notoriously difficult to kill, managed to pass all of the 3 armor saves they were required to make. Lastly, one of the 4 grenade launcher shots fired at the Ludwig found its mark, and so, with the Ludwig already being damaged, was blown up completely. A huge victory for the Allies. A wrecked Ludwig and 2 dead Sturm Grenadiers were the result of the Ranger combat squad, and so naturally the Axis wanted some revenge. They sent in their very hungry zombie units after them. Using their panzer gloves, the zombies rolled a total of 10 dice against the Ranger combat squad, scoring 4 hits, causing 4 casualties. The lone survivor didn't even manage a hit. So what was left of the unit is pretty much what you would expect if you are attacked by a bunch of hungry, crazed zombies. Only a single survivor. Next up were Johnny One-Eye and the remnants of the Ranger assault squad. First off, they successfully downgraded their suppression to a under fire, leaving them with 2 actions. First, they moved west and also gaining a clear line of sight towards the zombies, currently eating their buddies of the Ranger combat squad up there. Johnny leveled his machine gun and the sergeant decided to chip in using his combat shotgun. Killing spree is one of Johnny's special rules, which means that he can continue to roll for hits as long as he scores a few in the first place. In order to take full effect of the rule, the allied player elected to use fighting spirit as well, giving both Johnny and the sergeant a better chance of actually hitting the zombies. First up, the combat shotgun of the sergeant, thanks to the special rule of Johnny, managed to produce a perfect shotgun blast to the face, 7 hits. Next up was Johnny, and he scored 3 hits, which meant that he could, using his rule, reroll 3 of the dice, scoring a total of 6 hits. So 13 dice in total coming towards the zombies. The zombies then had to roll their armor saves and managed to save 10 out of 13 dice, meaning that 3 of the zombies were brought down in the terrible carnage taking place on top of the bunker. At the end of the shooting, it looked like this, with a single survivor fighting against 2 zombies. The Sturm Grenadiers didn't manage to remove their under fire token, but still moved on. They decided to try their luck against Johnny One-Eye and his assault rangers. The 2 assault rifles and the bazooka combined for a total of 9 shots, scoring a statistically perfect 3 hits on the unit. The armor save roll scored 1 success for the allies, which meant that Johnny took 2 wounds from the result. Also, the unit went back to being suppressed yet again. And next up, the Pounder decided to move from west to east using a march move in order to put itself into position to threaten the heavy assault grenadiers waiting behind the cover. The heavy assault grenadiers then activated themselves and march moved to take cover behind the bunker. Rosie then went up on top of the bunker and blew away at the Sturm Grenadiers. The bazooka shot was poorly aimed though, as all of the shots missed. Turn 3 had seen a lot of casualties: combat rangers, zombies, storm grenadiers, and also the powerful Ludwig. If we take a look at the battlefield, we can see that forces are closing in on the objective, but no side is fully in control of the objective yet. So, here's a look on the battlefield at the end of turn 3. Most likely, turn 4 will prove to be pivotal for this battle. The roll for initiative went like this. The Axis scored 2 symbols, to the Allies only 1, and so the Axis elected to go first. The Sturm Grenadier Assault Squad hurried up the ramp and fired their assault rifles against the Sergeant of the Combat Rangers and the bazooka against the Pounder. They only managed a single hit with their assault rifles, but fortunately that was enough to kill the sergeant. The Panzerschreck then fired through the rubble towards the Pounder, and it scored its hit, and the Pounder failed its cover save and so was left with 4 damage tokens. Johnny One-Eye and the Assault Rangers then saw a perfect opportunity to go behind the backs of the enemy and use their flamethrower, but their roll for suppression, however, meant that they only had a single action to use. Curse this suppression! The unit still had a bunch of UC targets to choose from on top of the bunker though, and so the shotgun went against the zombie squad once again, rolling 7 dice. This time, however, they only scored a single hit, and of course, to top it all off, the zombie passed its armor save. No damage. Johnny One-Eye then shot his machine guns against the Sturm Grenadiers. First, he scored 2 hits, gaining 2 additional rolls, scoring a further hit. In total, he scored 3 hits against the Sturm Grenadiers. The Sturm Grenadiers, however, being in cover, saved 2 of the 3 hits, which meant 1 of them were brought down. The zombies, now free to move off, decided to charge Rosie. However, the Pounder, being close by, decided it was time to try a reactive attack. It rolled its 2 dice and managed to score 1 hit, meaning it could fire its turret-mounted machine gun against this zombie threat. The heavy machine gun rolled its 5 dice, but unfortunately didn't manage to get a single hit against the zombies. The zombies, having managed to survive the machine gun fire, then attacked Rosie, dealing 2 points of damage. Rosie, being a true trooper, managed to retaliate and kill the zombie. The deadly combat on top of the bunker continued. Rosie then activated and decided to back away from the zombies and instead tried to blow it away using her bazooka. She managed to get her hit, but unfortunately the zombies, proving almost impossible to kill, passed yet another cover save. Then, the Heavy Assault Grenadiers, having spent the entire game wandering around, finally had a clear line of sight towards Johnny One-Eye and his unit. Dual machine guns against infantry is a terrible sight to behold. They had to divide the total amount of 33 shots into 2 separate sets, and first they hit 4 times, then 6, meaning that combined they managed a total of 10 hits against Johnny One-Eye and his unit, and a bunch of infantry saves coming up. Now, of the 10 hits, the allied player only managed to save 3, which was a total disaster, leaving the entire unit, including hero Johnny One-Eye, dead. At the end of turn 4, the table looked like this. The Axis forces were capturing the objective, but Rosie was just barely within contesting distance, and so we had to move on to turn number 5. The priority went like this. The Axis scored 2 symbols against the Allies 1, and so the Axis were able to move first. The Sturm Grenadiers removed their under fire token and then went on to fire at the Pounder as well as Rosie, using everything they had. The assault rifle missed Rosie completely, and the Panzerschreck flew wide of its mark, but the Panzerfaust from the sergeant of the Sturm Grenadier squad blew the Pounder sky high. Since Rosie was still contesting the objective from where she stood, she decided to not move and instead sustain fire her bazooka against the 2 squads on top of the bunker. She missed with the bazooka on the zombie though, even using sustained fire. However, it did help against the Sturm Grenadiers, which eventually took 1 hit. It wasn't exactly the result she had been hoping for, but at least 1 Sturm Grenadier less to worry about. But Rosie was still in a great deal of trouble as the Heavy Assault Grenadiers moved up on top of the bunker. Wading through the pile of corpses from both sides, they leveled their dual machine guns against Rosie. They had to once again split up their attacks into 2 sets of attack dice, and in what can only be described as a terrible display of overkill, managed to produce 16 hits, and poor Rosie was left a bloodied smear across the battlefield. The Allied forces had now been completely wiped out, and with a single Sturm Grenadier Sergeant, a zombie, and the squad of Heavy Assault Grenadiers, the Axis were now firmly in control of the objective. Thus, the Axis forces had won the game. Now, on to units of the game for both players. The Allied player doesn't really have any unit that stands out as doing particularly well. Johnny One-Eyed had a few good shots, but otherwise it was the humble Ranger Combat Squad who almost captured the objective single-handedly at the start of turn 3. They will receive the award. The Axis forces had a bunch of units doing well. The Sturm Grenadiers provided good fire support throughout the battle, and the zombies survived almost everything. But the award has to go to the Heavy Assault Grenadiers with their dual machine guns. Even getting off to a slow start, they showed that they are capable of doing almost everything. The award goes to them.